Well, welcome to the webinar of our studies, Actuarial Science, Econometrics and Operations Research. I'm Maurice Koster. I'm the Program Director of the first year, and I brought a student with me.
Yeah, hi, I'm Stine, and I'm a first year student in Econometrics and Operations Research. And for my last years in school, I went to England, but I'm originally from Germany.
So we would like to give you an idea what the studies Actuarial Science, Econometrics and Operations Research is about. There will be some content, so I will discuss some general information about the studies and tell you something more detailed because these are technical technical areas. So what are the differences, what are the focal points within these studies, and discuss it, and maybe you can tell something about your experiences.
Yes.
So far. So the general information, I will tell you something about the professional perspectives and the content. So what does a program look like? What are the requirements? What do you need to do to enroll our program? First of all, the professional perspectives. Well, actually, there's only one thing I can say. It's just excellent. So once you have a degree in either actuarial science or econometrics, the professional perspectives are really good. So there are 3 pluses, as you can see on the screen, for finding a job. Usually people they are working during their studies, before finalizing even their studies. And what is maybe more important is that the satisfaction at their job is enormous, and that it comes at a good salary. It's only a big advantage. So there's no reason not to study if you're looking at career perspectives. So what are these working areas? Where do you find the people? Where do you find econometricians? Well, basically, econometricians and actuarial sciences, they are working with large data sets. So you will find them in areas, in business areas where there's a lot of data. So you can think of banks, insurance companies, pension funds, but also the bigger firms in the industry. They are always the econometricians are always high in demand. Also, government, non-profit sector, you'll find econometricians, consultancy, and if you opt for an academic career, you can also do it. Here's just an overview. You might know some logos that are presented here. I must say that this is more the Dutch corporate world. So you see large firms like ING, a bank, and KLM. Maybe you flew with them. So the program of study, we have a bachelor of 3 years. The first year is called the propedeutic year. And we have a joint second year. So all the studies, whatever you choose, actuarial science or econometrics, in the first 2 years you get a solid basis, basically in the techniques that are used to be able, that you need in your profession. So in the third year, actually you split off. So you specialize. So you will go into the Bachelor of Actuarial Science, and you get specific courses, and you have a bachelor in econometrics and OR. I must say that OR will be phased out. That this year you can still go for operations research, but will phase out slowly the years after. So after completion of the bachelor, you might opt for an additional year and do a master in actuarial sciences or a master in econometrics. You could do both. You could combine these masters. If you have in the third year, as we will see in a minute, you will have electives, so where you can freely choose your courses. And if you make a kind of dual program of actuarial science courses together with econometrics courses, you could also qualify for the Master in Econometrics, although you were in the Bachelor of Actuarial Science. And this also holds in the GAN first. So you also can do, with a Bachelor in Econometrics, you might go to the Master of Actuarial Science. Okay. So here's year one. We have a structure which is called 884. So we have 2 semesters with 2 blocks of 8 weeks and 1 block of 4 weeks. And as you will see, we kind of have a mixed program. So we have a technical course, and aside we have an economics course. Like in the first block, you start off with mathematics. Yeah, so I'm a math professor. You will see me in this course. We start off with calculus. So you learn the basic techniques that you will definitely need. And parallel, you follow the course of macroeconomics. So in the second period, we have microeconomics, again, an economics course, and probability and statistics, which is very important in our studies. In the third block, you will see that you get an introduction in econometrics. So you get a shallow look into the field of econometrics. Well, this continues in the semester 2. You get finance and mathematics 2. Programming, numerical analysis, and again probability and statistics, and you round off the year with the introduction in actuarial science and operations research. So you see that it's quite technical. You get a lot of mathematics and a lot of probability and statistics, and for some people this is of interest and people like it. So did you like it?
Probability or the whole?
The program. What do you think of the program? How did the first year go?
It's actually quite nice, because specifically in the first block I found that you had this like massive section of maths, which is like pretty pure maths, and then at the same time you got like macro, which was sort of like balancing it out and giving you like an introduction into what economics is. So that was like a really nice mixture, and that keeps on going in the first year as well. So
yeah, okay. Did you think that there were some hard parts?
I think amongst most people in the first year, calculus is perceived to be quite hard. And at the same time, a lot of people tend to focus on the mathematical courses, so calculus or probability, and then sort of neglect the more economical parts. So I think in the whole structure of the program makes it quite challenging and like quite demanding in terms of workload, etc.
So this is a demanding program. It's all been said. So, this might be of interest to you. So, in summary, I listed the 10 courses. Well, we give each course 6 credits. What is a kind of European standard, how much the workload of a course is. So, a year has 60 credits. And you will see that actually 18 go to mathematics courses and 12 to statistics, and the other half of the credits go to economics, 18, and 12 for orientation. So, but these are also, again, a kind of technical courses. So it's a kind of challenging program in the sense that you should expect that you do a lot of theory. So you learn a lot of techniques that we will build on in the second and the third year. And actually, it's quite demanding. We have a binding study advice, which means that you need to score 84 credits, which means that actually you need to pass for 8 courses or more. And if you don't, then the studies ends at the first year. It's demanding in the sense that we have a mixture of international students and Dutch students, and we see that we have a positive binding study advice around 60%. And it's a little bit higher for the international group, a little bit less for the Dutch group. So year 2, the first year is basically about basic techniques, and the second year we kind of slowly specialize. You still get some mathematics courses like linear algebra. You get a deepening of your linear algebra in the first year, and you get a deepening of your calculus knowledge in Math 4, and you get additional probability and statistics courses. But you also see, like in Block 1, you see life insurance mathematics. So this is truly an actuarial science belonging to the Actuarial Science program. In the second semester, you see econometrics courses, which is actually directly into the Bachelor of Econometrics. Risk theory, again, is a course in Actuarial Science. And you see that in Block 3 and Block 6, you have more practical courses like optimization. You learn how to optimize and how to program. And Block 6, you have an empirical project where you carry out your first research, basically. So you are in year 2, I guess.
I'm in year 1.
Year 1 still. That is,
in the third block of year 1.
Oh, year 1. Then you will see me in the coming 2 weeks. I didn't know. Okay. So year 3. In econometrics, you have several possibilities. So in the first semester, we opened the first semester up in a sense that you could do a minor somewhere else. You could do a minor in programming, or you could go studying abroad. Well, for international people, the Netherlands is, of course, already abroad, but many Dutch students, they want to go, for instance, to Australia or to Hong Kong or whatever, to partner universities where we have agreements with. And or you can stay here and choose from a restricted choice set of courses. So in a second semester, you are basically required back, in the sense that you see, as of Block 5, you get the bachelor thesis seminar where you finalize your bachelor through a thesis. Okay. So if you do not pick a minor, or you're not planning to study abroad, then this is basically the structure. So you have mathematical and empirical finance in Block 1, and you have courses related to big data, introduction to machine learning and data preparation in Block 2 and Block 3. And still there's you see that usually in the first 2 years we had 2 courses at the same time in the same teaching period. Well, here again it's the same thing, only now you can choose from a list of electives, or you can do an internship somewhere. Yeah, maybe you know, but Amsterdam is very close to the financial district of Amsterdam, and many people might opt for an internship there. In the second semester, that's what I've been telling before, you have to be basically the big part is devoted to the thesis. You can also, well, this year you can still opt for operations research. Well, these are typical courses for in operations research, but again, you can have can choose from a set of electives, and of course, you could pick them from the econometrics part. Okay, actuarial science is the same thing. Only you have one course in Block 1, mathematics and empirical finance. It seems to block the possibility to go abroad, but that's not correct, because usually this type of course will be offered by also the international partners that we have. Yeah, so again, in the second semester is largely devoted to a research seminar and finalizing your thesis. So this is basically the programs that we offer over 3 years. Important is that, I explained already that actually these studies are quite technical. So this means also that you should that there are entry requirements. So for the Dutch people, you will need to have a finalized VWO and Wiskunde B, so Mathematics B. And outside the Netherlands, well, the criteria are different because we cannot summarize all the studies that you can do abroad, but we have a lot of expertise there, and you can contact us through the website. Important is that although we are in the economics faculty, that we don't require any knowledge about economics. Yeah, so in the first year you will get everything that you need to know. But mathematics is the most important thing. So if we are unsure about the level of mathematics that you have, a test can be part of the admission. That's what we do. So also you need to contact us if there's doubt. If we have doubt, we will contact you and ask you to do a test. This year it will be obligatory and compulsory to participate in the online UvA matching, which is actually a way for you to find out whether these studies are something for you. So what we offer you is a week of study. You can actually, you're required to participate. This is all done online. You get clips, you get presentations online, and after the week you will get a test on mathematics, just practical, just to see where your standings are, and you will get a small test about the specific econometrics part that we offer. Important to tell you, it's not the participation is important. So we will not say to you, well, you cannot enroll because the test that you made for the matching did not go very well. So the entry requirements are something different than the matching protocol. Okay. Now I turn shortly to what the studies are actually about. So there's a little bit content so that you understand the differences in the fields. I'll start off with actuarial science. You want to do econometrics, right? So yes. It's something that you might learn now what it's actually about. So actuarial science is about insurance mathematics and risk management. And it covers several cases, like we have a growing concern about climate change. And climate change, for instance, brings a lot of has a lot of aspects, and especially natural disasters come along with climate change. So heavy storms, etc., are occurring more frequently, and they cause, of course, a lot of damage. And that's where the actuarial people pop up, because they need to calculate the probability that these extreme events can occur. And again, when it's an extreme event, what is the impact in financial terms? Yeah, and so you run a financial risk, and can you insure this? And if so, under what price and what conditions? And also, they are in the middle of a debate between the public and private sector, because you may see that actually the climate concerns us all. So why should private people pay for the full cost of the damage done to them by weather conditions? Shouldn't it be the government or other institutions? Yeah, so these are kind of challenging problems, which are very these are the problems that we face on daily basis, basically. I'm just looking at the screen to see if there are some questions coming in, because you are invited to ask questions. You can interrupt us any moment that you like. If there are no questions, then I just proceed with the following slide. I'm a teacher. You can ask me, direct your questions about more a teacher perspective, but we also have the experience of a student. So you might question anything that you like. I don't see anything yet, so we'll just wait for questions. Another topic for people for actuarial people is aging. So people are living longer, and there's less babies being born. So our society ages. So you might question, well, what is an actuarial? Why is he interested in this problem? Well, we have a big insurance. One of the biggest insurance that we actually have are the pensions. So after we turn 65 or 67, depending on where you live in the world, people are insured and get a pension. But of course, these pensions are these are savings, but they have changing words, right? So people pay in now for other people to be able to get their pensions. So the questions for an actuary and a risk manager are: how do I design a robust pension system? So if I give out all the money that is presently in, then of course for the future generations there won't be anything. But of course these savings that we all make, they are kind of the worth of these savings is fluctuating. So how can we be sure that we can pay out the people when they are old? So this is a very big issue for an actuary. Actuary, you also find them in financial markets. Why? Well, I told you that actually actuarial science is also about risk management. Well, here is the risk management part. The financial industry is bigger and more complex than ever, and financial markets are interconnected. So if things go wrong at Wall Street, probably you'll find the same aspects in Tokyo and wherever else in the world. So a question for the actuary is: what are the effects for a sharp decrease of in the stock market, or what kind of effects can we expect in the other parts of a financial market? So how likely is it, for instance, that a crisis will propagate from one market to another? So this is something that is really interesting. So you will find our people also in financial markets. So now I turn to econometrics. I will just read. Okay, there's a question coming in. Somebody's asking. Someone's telling that apparently econometrics is very difficult. I understand mathematics B. And I like mathematics and economics. The question is, what makes this bachelor difficult? Could you say something to this?
I think for most people it's the workload in total, because you're new to university on one hand, so nobody actually forces you to go to any lectures anymore. You really sort of like need to get yourself out of bed and join the lectures, and then at the same time what you hear in lectures is probably going to be like really complex and in most cases overwhelming. And so yeah, you chose a really difficult study and you're also new at uni, and that's all a little bit like overwhelming. And yeah, in general it's just I'd say, or my experiences with all the people I've met here, is that those people who like maths and get themselves to sit down and do revision, they will get through the program. Like, as long as you're willing to work hard, that's pretty much the most important thing you need.
So you say it's basically the motivation that drives good results.
Because it's difficult to say that maths is the most difficult part of the program, because that's like really different for everyone. So for me, for example, the economics part was a lot more new stuff, so I had to work a little bit harder on that. But in general, I'd say both of these areas come together and they create a huge amount of workload, and that can be quite overwhelming. But if you like maths, and that is definitely, I think, one of the most important things. If you like maths, then this program is probably like a relatively good choice.
Yeah. So if you like maths, if you like technique, then this is something worthwhile for you. So and also it's motivating, right? So you learn a lot of new techniques, and if you like mathematics, this won't withhold you from learning it, because you have to work. So what we usually see is that in high school everything goes smooth, and some people hardly are studying at their homes. But now you cannot do this anymore, because we pick those people who are interested in mathematics, and we offer them the difficulty that we think they can manage. So it's a new lineup, and the people who are not interested in mathematics are basically gone. So this is maybe one of the reasons that it's challenging, because we are focusing on the level of people that we get in. And if when we think, well, in 4 years' time, you really need to know your profession, then this is kind of what is asked for. We need to have a higher tempo, and you will see the first half year might be hard, but when you get through, then hardly anyone drops out anymore. So, and as of the second year, the first year is selective, but actually the second and the third year hardly.
Yeah.
So I don't know if there's questions about that, but. Okay, I get a following question. I don't know if I can answer this. I have a Dutch passport, but grew up in South Africa. Do I need a burger service number to qualify?
I think I have a friend who, or two friends. So one of them has a German passport and she's from South Africa as well. The other one has a Dutch passport and is from Zimbabwe. And I believe both of them just like qualified as regular European citizens, and they just study at the usual European tuition fee. So they, as far as I'm concerned, there's no other obstacle.
But if you're not sure, you always can contact our admission office. They will know this, definitely. Well, let me proceed with econometrics. What is econometrics about? Well, it's econometrics. So it's measuring in economics. What is different? Like you know that in physics you also measure. You also have experiments and you measure things. Why is it different to measure in economics? Well, actually, economics is a huge system where you can measure once and then the world has changed again. So basically, people would say, well, n is 1. You have only one observation, and that's what you need to get your conclusions from. What econometrics is about is to summarize information and knowledge in models. So you get a feel for how reality works. Then you try to build a model. And if you really understand, then this model will fit to your data. And if you have a good fit to your data, then you might be able to forecast using the model. So you, for instance, development of loans, of development of derivatives or whatever, all kinds of things you can. If you think you have a good understanding of what is going on, you build a model. And using this model, you try to forecast. And sometimes you have a good model and you can forecast really good. And sometimes it's not possible. But if you can forecast, then you can also calculate different regimes. So if I do A, then this happens. If I do B, something else happens. But you can compare the outcome. And if you can compare the outcome, then you might be able to decide. So actually, econometrics is also about decision making. So this is what is the intrinsic idea of econometrics, and especially that you do it in economics. But of course, the techniques that you learn are not really restricted to be applied in economics only. You could also support a climate research team and use your models to check whether their models that they are working with are correct or correctly specified. So you can do a lot with the techniques that you learn here, also in science. One example in econometrics is marketing. A company raises its budget for advertising with some amount, X euro, and can you, given the data that you have, can you estimate what are the expected extra revenues? Yeah, so here you have clearly a problem, because you might want to spend €100 and maybe you want to spend €1,000,000, but this might not be effective. So you need to decide between the two possibilities, and usually there's a lot of information gathered by the marketing people so that you actually are capable of of making a decision. Something else is that's very popular nowadays is big data. So since now our computers and servers are not restrictive in the amount of data that we can actually gather and store, we have so much data that it's hard to know what you can actually do with it. So this is the field of big data. Econometricians are in the econometrics program, you learn how to deal with big data sets and how to learn from them. So can we find patterns in this big data? So you have big data analytics. It deals with high volume, high velocity, a lot of information assets. And it's focused on cost-effective, innovative information processing. Yeah, you might have just too much information, and you need to distill what you need to know from this data. Well, it's related to data science. Data science is more about operational things, about data cleansing, preparation, analysis. But the scope of the techniques is the same. They try to use it in business, in science, anywhere where you might learn something from your data, and where you have a huge piles of information. I slowly turn to, did you read the questions?
Yeah, if there's a cap on the number of applicants.
No, there's no cap on the number of applicants. So if you apply and you fulfill the requirements, then you will just enroll the program. There's no cap, and there won't be a cap for the coming years, I believe. So if you're in doubt whether or not to come this year or next year, there won't be any difference. Okay, this is asked twice, so I hope that this is a clear answer for you. So here is why I myself use econometrics. Well, a very easy econometrics model, actually a type of techniques that you learn in the first year. So what you're looking at is actually, I look at the tests for matching, and I compare it with the results for mathematics. So basically we try to, through the Aviva matching, we try to give you an advice whether or not something might be suitable for you. So what we expect is that if your grade for the matching is very high, then we actually expect you to have a high grade for mathematics as well. And the converse as well. So if you have a very low matching result, then we hope that we gave you a good advice. So then this also should relate to low mathematics 1 result. Well, here in this box plot, you see a lot of dots. Well, each dot is a combination of a matching result and a mathematics result. there are several students on one dot. So, but you might, if you close your eyes a little bit, you might see a kind of cloud of data points, which goes from the lower left part to the upper right part. So you might get the idea that maybe there's a positive relationship, but it's not clear because it looks like a cloud of points, and there's no really a direction of this cloud. So what we do in econometrics is that we assume some relations. So here we have a linear relation. So Wi is the mathematics grade and Mi is the matching grade. We assume that this is Wi is C plus B times Mi. So there's a linear relationship between them, and we look how good this model is compared to the data that we observe. Well, in the first year, you will learn that actually here we are looking at some statistics, some estimates that we can make. And we get in red, you get certain coefficients. And if you look at right-hand side in the blue, you get a p-value. And the smaller it is, the better the model gives a true description of what might be the case. So here we see actually, since the coefficient is 0.43, which means that the B that we have in our model is positive, which means that actually we have a positive effect. So indeed, we are doing the right thing. I'm happy as a mathematician because it shows that actually the matching gives you a proper understanding of what will be your challenges. So if you have a very high matching rate, then you're just excellent for our studies. So how did you find you just you're in the middle of this, right?
Exactly. I'm doing a regression analysis as well.
Yeah, so this is a very easy regression analysis. It's just two variables basically. So
seems significant though.
It's significant. Here I have a more elaborate model, which is actually used to explain the difference in salary of people working, and there's a huge data set of Dutch people, like if they are male, if they are living at home, what are their grades, how high are their grades, the region where they come from in the Netherlands, and you see the effects on the salary. It's the same kind of model, only now we have B1 until B9. We have a lot of variables in this that we actually use in this model. And you see, well, under B9, what you actually study is one of the biggest determinants of your salary. So if you study political science, it has a negative impact on your salary. And if you study econometrics, there's definitely a positive influence. So in our studies, you learn how to cope with these kind of models. So did you look at these kind of models with so many variables?
I looked at whether obesity has a negative effect on earnings, which is actually only significant for women. So
and not for men?
Not for men.
Okay.
Not much anyways.
Okay. So here you see where practice... well, after half a year, you're doing this kind of practical analysis. I have to read something. I cannot read it.
I think it's a question about the skills in tutoring. So what that entails?
Skills and tutoring.
Yeah.
It's in the first year. In the first teaching period, we offer this as we try to. Well, okay, I have to step back. The people that are coming in are very heterogeneous as far as mathematics is concerned. So we try to help people with their mathematics. So you get additional help over there. You learn how to write. What do we expect from you? There's a little bit planning. How do you make a weekly plan? Because it's not. You're not at home, and as you might know, Amsterdam is a wild city, so there's many distractions, and we hope that you can make your own plan and stick to it. So this is just what we mean by skills and tutoring, and these are peers that are actually your tutors. So these are students or former students that are actually helping you with it. So these are real life experts in this sense. And
you also have another skills sort of part in the second block, which is mostly about essay techniques. So that's quite important in our course as well.
And basic word processors, right? I mean, you learn about Excel, etc., etc. So you have to be able to report later on, and we don't want you to use a WordPad anymore. So basically, this is what we do. We offer you, in a sense, what is sometimes called 21st century skills. So you get your digital diploma in a sense. So these are all standards, and in the first year you learn the standards, basically what we want from you.
It's mostly also supporting of specifically one subject. So in the first block the skills will mostly focus on calculus. In the second block it's more focused on microeconomics. So and you had to write something on an economic topic, right? Exactly. So we did more mathematical stuff in microeconomics, which was quite interesting. And then we looked at more writing about it and looking at the economic theory. And then that's what we sort of did in skills. Okay, very important question, very interesting, because I promised to tell something about tutoring, but this is meant by it. And also we use the tutoring indirectly in the sense that when there are problems, students tend to go to their peers more easily than staff. So I'm in contact with our with our tutors, and if there are problems, if you have personal problems or whatever problems of any kind, then we might help you in this way. There's another question about high school. Another question about high school. I have a high school diploma and the additional requirement which are listed on your website. Oh, this is too technical, I guess. So I propose that when you have a very technical question, that you contact our admissions office, because they will know what are the country-specific entry requirements. Okay, I will just proceed with some content. Is there something else? I think there's one more right on the bottom. What type of computer system, I guess, that it should be, do you recommend for students? Well, that's completely what you like the most. So we have people, many students using Apple, and many students also use other Hewlett Packard or whatever Windows system. That's the things that we use are in this sense platform. Are indifferent for the platforms. You can get your software for both Mac and PC. But the uni has really good computers, so for the really important work, for the actual programming, you will mostly use the university's computers. So. But it might be in the future that we will use more bring your own device policy. So I think everybody wants to have a kind of machine and choose the right one. Well, it's just what you prefer yourself. So this is what I can say, right? I mean, I see people working on different machines. Most people have Macs. Yeah. That's just because they're very transportable. So this is one of the basic reasons. Okay. Something else in econometrics? A different problem? Can we forecast share prices? Well, here you see the AEX. It's the Dutch how you call it on a beursplein. It's an index, and you see it from we follow data from the beginning of the 80s until almost 2000, and you see a steep increase of this index, and the question is, can we project this increase in the future? Well, think for a moment whether this should hold or not. Well,
Actually, it's a very specific time that actually we had an internet bubble over there. So in 2001, the index crashed basically because it went down to almost 2 over there. Okay. Another part of econometrics is more devoted to economics, so you can do both things. So you can really go into technique and data delving, but you can also choose a path that is more in direction of economics. I myself, I did my PhD in game theory, which is actually more in the economics direction, and the topics there are the functioning of markets. Is it good to have a market? Are there cartels in a market? Do we see a monopolistic behavior? How to intervene? How to avoid creation of monopolies? Something else is auction design. So you know that everything goes through Amazon, eBay, whatever, and many things are auctioned. And all these platforms use a very specific auction format. Well, this is something that you might study for. What kind of auction formats are ideal in some way, most efficient for seller or buyer, etc. But also we have a very, our research group is a Center for Nonlinear Dynamics in Economic and Finance. What we actually do, we have a kind of non-standard view on economics. We look at the economic system as a dynamical system with, and we look at things that might occur in economics. When you look around, everything seems to be chaotic, but our research theme is basically showing that even very simple structures may give rise to kind of erratic patterns. So actually, the economic reality might be very simple, but you might not see it through the data. So this is one of the topics that you may specialize in, but it's only in the third year. Very nice area of research where everything comes together, so mathematical economics, econometrics and actuarial science, is a network analysis. So what we see here in this picture is a financial system. So every dot basically is a bank, and we draw a line between two banks if they have a financial position related to each other. So if Bank A lends money to Bank B, then you will see this is a line in the graph. So we all know what happened in 2008, that actually the financial system cracked down, right? I mean, just while some banks went default, it causes a lot of problem in this financial system because all these banks are interconnected. So in the right-hand side, you see the type of analysis that we perform. So we let a bank go default, and then look what happens if we play this around for a little while. And then you see basically the yellow dots are the banks that are default after a while. So in this sense, you may use your knowledge about risk measurement or risk sharing, and risk analysis from actuarial science. You use actually econometrics to create the network, and then you use ideas from mathematical economics to study for stability of such a network. So here, but this is a very relevant field nowadays.
There's another question.
There's another question,
yes.
Of course.
About whether you need any pre-knowledge about coding.
No, you don't need any pre-knowledge about programming. We start in the first year, you have a course which is actually in period 5, which is mathematical analysis of the numerical analysis and programming. Nowadays we program using MATLAB, but we start from scratch. So basically you don't need to bring anything there. But of course, if you have some knowledge already, it's only welcome. Okay, I'm almost done. Okay, so here is one of the last slides. Operations research. What is operations research about? Well, it's about mathematical modeling of practical problems. So these are problems in logistics, supply chain management, traffic control systems, and check-in planning at airports. Anything that has to do with planning, scheduling, etc., belongs to the field of operations research. Yeah, you see a TomTom, so routing your vehicle from A to B is one of the most renowned examples where operations research has played a huge role. Why should you study at the UvA? Maybe I ask you.
You shouldn't. I think I'm just going to speak for international people now, because Dutch people always sort of have like different reasons for that. So first thing is UvA specifically has a really, really good reputation in the whole of Europe, and I believe in the whole of the world. So obviously there's Amsterdam, and there's Amsterdam and Delft and Rotterdam, but specifically, for example, in Britain, they love hearing that you have a bachelor from UvA. So that was quite a reason for me. And the second thing is also when I sort of went through to a couple of universities in the Netherlands, I thought that Amsterdam was just incredibly nice. The city is like, I don't know, I couldn't think of a better student city, because it's pretty much a capital city put into a really, really tiny area. So there's lots going on, and you can just like be everywhere by bike within like 10 minutes. So it's actually the ideal student city as well.
Okay. This is this is life experience. I can add that actually within the Netherlands, this is the only university actually focusing on actuarial science, even in the bachelor. So this is another unique position of our more technical position of our studies. Besides that, it's a nice city.
It's also really international. The university is really international.
And I think Amsterdam as a whole is also very international. Yeah. I think 1 in 3 people on the street will talk English.
Yes.
Will speak English. So this is nothing to be hesitant about. So the Dutch are pretty much internationally oriented. So this is probably why expats are feeling really at home in Amsterdam, and we have many expats here. What is actually important also for the studies is that we have a strong relationship with practice. So we are very close to the main financial industry. So the biggest companies, they all have their headquarters in the vicinity of Amsterdam. So actually, when it comes to internships, etc., in the third year, you're living on top of these organizations. So it's very easy to come by. And also we have a very active, the VSAE is a student organizations. They are in very close contact with these corporate, with the corporate world. So that is actually very easy to get a job afterwards, because they know you and they want you and you know them. Yeah, so we have markets where they present themselves. And did you join one of these days?
I didn't join the days, but I was going to say that the VSAE is that's quite like a specific thing for econometrics and the whole course as well, because that is pretty much the only course in the entire faculty that has that like strong sort of a student association, and you join it and you'll be able to join loads of different events. It's actually like very supportive.
Something that I didn't touch, but maybe you're interested in the size of our program. I think now we have around 160 Dutch students and about 120 international students. So these are actually rather small groups. So I think you have the experience that you know many people in a very short time, right?
I think a lot of people have. I mean, the course is really difficult, so a lot of people have dropped out, sadly. So I think in most of the lectures we tend to be 60 people, and that's just incredibly small, which also makes the lecturers quite engaging and interactive, because if you're sitting in front of a lecture hall with 1,000 people, as is the case in other business courses, you'll never really get in contact with the professor that closely. So that's really like an advantage.
Okay, so this is also an advantage. I haven't listed it here, but this also means that actually, due to the small scale, that actually we allow for intensive tutoring. When you need to speak to somebody, there will always somebody available. So there's no issue whatsoever. So especially if you're from abroad and things happen, maybe things happen at home, it's good to have a talk sometimes, and it's possible. We also have excellent study advisors. We have around 6 of them. So they always make time for you if you drop by. I hope there are other questions. Otherwise, I'll round off. So this is... Can you come closer that I can read?
Where do international students come from?
The international students, well, they're diverse. So it's very diverse. Maybe you can tell something about it.
I have to say, I have friends from like 7 different countries at least. I mean, there are also Dutch students in the English program who are like very international minded. I think the furthest away I've heard of is either Taiwan or Australia. There are a lot of people from Korea, actually, a couple of US students, and actually, surprisingly, a lot of South Africans as well.
South Africans, yes. Zimbabwe, there's a student from Zimbabwe this year. So people come from everywhere. But also the Dutch students are also in this program because it's very it's very usual that people have a bilingual teaching system or education system. So they go to English, partly English and Dutch schools, and they want to go to the international schools here. So it's very international. We have special relationships with Southeast Asia. We have connections with Cambridge Education Group. So many people from there are from Asia, basically. Yes. So your study choice. So this is meant as an information next round of information. So you are, this is part of the orientation that you have. We also have more live events like the Bachelor Day. Well, it may be hard for you if you're from abroad to be there, but then you can visit us, see the campus, see how beautiful it is. There's other means that you can get your information using the website. The next phase is that you check whether you fulfill the requirements. If you're an international student, then it's just wise to contact our international office, admissions office. Then you enroll. And once you enroll, sign up, this should be done before the 1st of April, then you get, we have monthly UvA matching procedure, which is actually compelling. But as I told you before, there's a test involved, but it's not saying something about your right to enroll. So the fulfilling requirements, this has been checked already. So it's a non-binding study advice. So this is the way you could see it. Okay, I hope that when people have questions, that we might have time for a rather small question. Otherwise, we like to thank the people present in this session, and we hope to see them in the near future. Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.